Exciting. Cool. Okay, we're live. Yay. So, welcome back to are we episode 4 now?
Yeah, episode 4.
Yes, episode 4 of Comic Book Team Up. So we're discussing Justin's first manga today. I have been obsessed with Fullmetal Alchemist, and I have been asking all of my friends to read it, or at the very least, if I can't convince them to read it, I want them to watch the anime. But if you read it, I would be very thankful. So Justin did. He read the first volume. This is a 3-in-1 edition, so this is volumes 1, 2, and 3. That's what.
Oh, cool.
But yeah. So that's
how long have you? How long have you been reading it for? Or when did you get it? Have you always been a fan, or this is new to you?
The only manga that I ever used to read was Dragon Ball Z. Okay. But my friend Sarah, Weaving Fiction, she is a massive manga reader, and so she really, really, really wanted me to read Tokyo Ghoul, which sounds like it's something that I would like because I like horror stuff. But I didn't really like it. And when I was at the library, at the same time, I saw Fullmetal Alchemist, and I was like, I'll just get it. And ended up, there's Sarah right now. Oh my God, she's watching. She's awake as well. Yay. Good morning, Spine Ticks as well.
What's up, Eric?
So yeah, I only started reading it this year, but I fell in love super hard. Just when you find a series that you really like, you just go all in for it. So hi, Henry. Oh my God. Yay. Friends. Amazing. So yeah.
Did you watch the show or at all? Fullmetal Alchemist?
I've been watching the show with each volume that I read.
Oh, okay, cool.
So yeah, I'll read a book and then watch a little bit, and then read a book and then watch a little bit. And then the guy at the bookstore that I have been buying these from, he's always like, "What's the update? Where are you up to? Are you watching it? Did you watch this bit? Did you like this?" Fell in love is Kieran is one of my quite close friends. We text quite a lot, and so he has had to listen to me be Kieran actually picked up this for me at the mall where he lives. So this is one of our lovely characters, Alphonse, who we love and adore, my son. So yeah, that's very accurate. So I guess we can start off with how did you feel, or what were your sort of initial thoughts reading your first manga?
Well, so yeah, I should clarify, or I know you mentioned this was my first time reading any, and is it manga or manga? Or is there not a correct term?
It depends on your accent. So
okay. Well, this was my first time diving into any of those. Sheena. What's up, Sheena? So I wasn't really sure what to expect. I mean, let me just give a little background here. So for me, I was obsessed with Dragon Ball Z back in the day. The only other thing that, and I don't know if this is manga or not, but Pokemon back in the day too. I don't know if I don't know if there were books of Pokemon. Okay, or there's DBZ. Yeah. So
Pokemon start off as a manga. So
okay, yeah. So I used to love the shows of Dragon Ball Z, Pokemon, and it's been a while since then. And then I never got into the books, never read anything like that. And then obviously, getting into comic books, comics is totally different world. Is indeed manga. Okay, cool. So yeah, so this is a whole new world to me to be able to jump into any of this style of book. And so I wasn't really sure what to expect. I mentioned to you that I don't know if my heart would fully be into it, just because I've been so focused on comic books and some of the things that my heart is currently into with comics. So I bought this first volume digitally, found it on Comixology, the link that you sent me. So I will say it was enjoyable. I read through it. I thought that it was, I'm trying to think how to think of it, because I enjoyed it. I just didn't love it.
Yeah.
And so and especially hearing how you feel about it, and I feel like you and I usually love the same things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, part of it being that I just don't have that much experience with manga. I think that that's a big part to me. That's just like, I don't know, maybe I need more time with it or need more of a shot, give it more of a shot. But,
Yeah.
and then obviously trying to keep up with all my regular comic book
Oh my
reads and
God,
things
yes.
like that. Yeah. Like my head and my mind are just, kind of in elsewhere.
Yeah.
So, I felt like it read very smoothly. I read it very quickly. Like it was a quick read.
Yeah.
Ultimately, this was like 4 chapters within this first
Yeah.
volume. And yeah, I don't know. Like it reminded me of Pokemon, and I know, and I apologize if I'm offending anybody by saying that because I'm sure they are completely not the same. But it reminded me in the sense of like some of the humor and like
Yeah.
the jokes and the like them falling over. I'm trying to think of like examples, but like them falling over when like someone says something and they're mocking the person or something like
Yeah. When
that.
he's like, did you call me short? Like,
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Like it reminded me because you get stuff like that in there you go. You get stuff like that in like Pokemon. So or even Dragon Ball Z, there were those moments of like,
Like
and that's just
Vegeta.
right. And that's just that kind of humor, I guess.
Yeah.
And I don't know. To me, reading this just felt like, and I'm sorry if I'm like rambling, but reading this kind of felt as if I was going back and having to watch Pokemon again for the first time. Hey, what's up, Jeremy? Just interviewed him hour ago.
Also,
But it just made me feel like it's as if I were to sit through Pokemon again, and it just
yeah.
felt to me that I couldn't get into it enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't know what it was. Like I don't know if it was just the characters I just didn't connect with, or I don't know. I'm trying to think of another way to kind of put this, but I don't know. Ultimately, I wasn't crazy about it, and I know it's a huge, it's got a huge following.
Yeah. Sure.
Obviously, you love it.
It's up to like 25 volumes or something like that.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like if if we're rating it, it's just kind of in the middle for me. I know if you
Yeah.
do like out of 5 stars, I would say like 3. The other thing too was I'm not as big of a fan of just black and white art or
Mm,
black and white, throughout an interior. I do like more of the color. I feel like this read more as a novel than it
yeah.
did as a graphic focus.
Oh.
So that's kind of where I mean the story
Yeah.
I was pulling in the story, but I just felt like it was more about I was just reading it more so than seeing it.
Yeah.
Wasn't crazy about the artwork. I mean it's fine, it's not terrible, it's not
Yeah.
bad. It just wasn't like didn't really grab me in the way that certain comic books do. So
Yeah.
again, it's a whole new world to me, and I apologize if I offend anybody throughout this because it is just new. It's very new. And I should say reading backwards, like I had no idea. Like I'm like, what am I? So that I mean, that might have been a part of it too that pulled me out of it was the fact
Yeah.
that I had to figure out at times, because
Yeah.
I'm just so used to reading a certain way. So
Yeah.
going backwards and reading panel to panel backwards was a little bit of an adjustment. I mean, I guess you get used to it once you start doing it. But yeah, like that first chapter, I was more focused on making sure I was reading it right, more so than actually picking up what was going on. So maybe this deserves a second shot around, a second chance to reread. I mean, I certainly have, pulled in what was going on, but I just didn't have that connection with the characters that I imagine you have so much. So, oh, great. You're fine. All right. That I needed that message right there. I needed that
Totally.
because I'm like, I don't want to offend anybody. And like, I'm
Yeah.
not saying that it's terrible or anything, but like it did take some time to get into the groove of certain things. So it's kind of nice to see that, but,
Okay.
so I mean, I know you love this series, but, I mean, what are your thoughts on my thoughts? Cause I'm curious. I mean, you
All
understand, right? It's like,
Yeah, totally all fair and valid. And I feel like your criticisms, I totally understand. And that's why I think I've been like pushing people to get this particular edition if they can find it, because I feel like once you get to the end of volume 3, that's where you really become invested in the story and the characters. So maybe like volume 1 is kind of almost just like a warm up to like get used to reading like a manga format. But I think the story might if you did decide to ever pick it up again on Comixology, you might find if you read to volume 3 that you were like, okay, now I'm invested in the characters. I'm used to reading this format. Like, okay, I understand what's going on now. Like, I can read it this way. Because I definitely felt like when I first, and Sarah can probably confirm this because I'm pretty sure I text her every day, but I was texting her when I was reading it. And I'm pretty sure the first volume took me like a week to read, and I'd read like a couple pages or like a chapter and be like, oh yeah, okay. And then I got to the next volume and I was like, okay, I'm halfway, I'm gonna finish this now. And then I got to the third one and I was like, where's some more of those Fullmetal Alchemist manga? I need more. I'm gonna watch the anime, but like fully fell down the rabbit hole once I got to like the end of this. So
right,
I can understand what you're saying, especially like some manga series that I have read. There's one called Waiting for Spring, which is kind of like a romantic comedy type one.
Okay.
And that's how I felt. I was just like, like I'm getting confused with the way that I'm reading this like backwards and the panels backwards, and like the humor, I didn't really get it. And like the way that the characters interacted, I didn't really get it. So I was kind of like, I don't know if I like manga. So that was like maybe 2 years ago. That was before COVID that I read that, and I gave them to Sarah. And for a while I was like, I don't think I like manga. Like I don't think this is for me. But then when, as I said, like I was like, I'm gonna read Tokyo Ghoul. Like Sarah loves it. I want to get on this hype train. Like I'm gonna give it a go. The library's got them all. So I obviously got out all of the manga. Right. And Sailor Moon as well. I've been reading Sailor Moon with Abby and Sheena and Kelly.
Nice.
This one in particular, I feel like, sorry that my dogs are crying, but
no, you're good.
You're good. I think the reason that I really enjoyed this is because it has a lot of the same tropes as, hold on, I'm just going to stop Atlas from crying because she wants to join in. You want to come and sit on my list?
Sheena says, I'm just starting manga myself, Justin, and I feel you're not alone. Sheena says I'm not alone, so I appreciate that.
Sheena's the best. I feel like one of the reasons that I like Fullmetal Alchemist is because, as we've discussed, you know that I really like, sorry, Atlas is being a brat, really like Dragon Ball Z, and it has a lot of the same kind of tropes where it's like kind of like a fantastical adventure with magical powers, and it's like, you know, like siblings or friends, and they kind of find their family and their friend group and all those sorts of things, and it's quite like high stakes, and like a lot of those things that I found really enjoyable about like Dragon Ball Z specifically are shared in the story that's being told here. But I think one thing that I really like is the like familial bond with Alphonse and Edward. As the story goes on, it's just so cute. Like they're just so cute, like the way that they love each other and want to like protect each other and like solve this big problem. Actually, we haven't even talked about I didn't even say what Fullmetal Alchemist was even about at the start of the stream, so that's my bad. Maybe I should do that. But
no, that's all right. Yeah, I mean, but that was a big part of it too. Was I was trying to catch up quickly on what it was all about just from diving into this one volume, and because I didn't even read like any descriptions about it or anything, so I had no idea what any of this meant, or what direction it was going to go in or anything like that. So this whole world to me was brand new, and maybe that's another reason why it kind of took me some time. And I could totally see, going back to what you said about like, maybe giving it a shot to reading through volume 3. I do feel like I had a hard time really getting to know the characters, the main two brothers. Like we did get like in the second chapter, I think we got like a little bit of the origin story of how they came to be. And also learned how Alfonso like didn't have a body, or like his body, body of metal and all this stuff. So like, you kind of learn little glimpses along the way, but I still didn't get like the full understanding of all this stuff. And even the world, like they talk about being a state alchemist. Like what is a state alchemist versus, it's like this government. Is that what that means, is being a state and only one of them is a state alchemist. So the other one's not.
I'll go over the plot a little bit then.
Okay, yeah.
Because obviously I didn't do that at the start. So basically, where it opens up is kind of like they just like plonk you right in the middle. They're just like, here you go. All right, let's get going on the story. But what's happening is that Ed, he is the youngest state alchemist in the army. So the country that they live in is like this weird little landlocked like circle. And so they have like other countries trying to like invade them from all sides. So it's a military state. So they run, like their government is run by the military. So that's why everyone's in their weird little like military uniforms. And the state alchemists are like wizards basically that the army enlists, and they have to like pass a test, and they get this little like pocket watch to say that they're a state alchemist. But basically it just means the army can pay them to go to the front lines if they want them to, and like do whatever kind of magic that they specialize in to like win. And also the army gives them money to like do research. And so Ed is the youngest state alchemist ever because his dad was an alchemist, and he left the family when Ed and Alphonse were little, and then their mother passes away. And because they knew that their father was an alchemist, they had like a base understanding, and they had all of his research and his books and stuff. And so they wanted to bring their mother back to life because they were all alone. They wanted her back. And they're only little kids. They were like, I think they're supposed to be like 12 when they do this. And so they try to perform this like alchemic, like magic ritual basically to bring her back to life. But you're not allowed to do that. There are rules to alchemy, which
like
is
laws that they mentioned.
Like. So that's kind of what they're hashing out in that first volume, is like how the like for like works and how they're going to address it in the series, because people are trying to like challenge the like societal norms of like alchemy, and there's like a whole like underground thing like happening with these like philosopher's stones. And so Ed and Al try to bring their mother back to life, but because, you know, to like make a life, if you think about it just logically, you have to give a life, right?
You have to give,
so the magic, the toll takes Alphonse's body, and then to get Alphonse's body back, to like locate, like he couldn't get his body back, so he sticks his soul like with magic in that suit of armor. But that's how Ed loses his arm and his leg, because that was the toll for getting the body, his brother's soul back. So then Ed becomes gets his
I think I lost you. I don't know if I'm frozen or you're frozen. Anybody in the chat? Hold on. Oh, okay. Jeremy's saying I'm still here. All right. V, if you hear this, jump back out and back in, maybe. Okay, V's frozen. All right, we'll give her a second here, see if she looks like it's loading. And there she is. There you are.
Yeah. Are we back? Is it working?
Yeah, there you are.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Wall charger for my laptop wasn't actually turned on, so that was my bad. Yeah, great. First thing in the morning. Clearly I should have finished this cup of coffee before I got on here. Oh my God. But so Ed gets his like metal arm and leg, and then goes off and like does the test to become a state alchemist, because he needs like the funding and the support and stuff to figure out how to get him and Alphonse like back to normal. And so kind of opens up, they're like on their quests, like doing whatever it is that they are doing to figure out how to like get their bodies back. And so they find that guy who has had like rumors about performing miracles, and they're like,
the church
that's
guy,
weird, that's suspicious, because, you know, he's like performing miracles, but it's kind of like he's not giving anything back. And he has that like he has a little ring, and the village kind of become, you know, like entranced with him and his miracles, and they like really think that he's performing
I did like this. I did like this opening story arc with this guy who's this like kind of villain. I actually had, thought there were two different like angles with that guy, because there was like two scenes where like one, they like, you know, he was tough, he was confident, he was like, you know, this whole time, and then like when the kids got the upper hand, he was like he was basically like, please, like, you know, I think it was when they found out it was fake or something like that.
Yeah.
I had a note here. I want to see if where was it? Basically, he was saying like uh, oh, he was so angry with the kids that it got to the point where he was like, I'll get even with these kids, even if it means everything that I've, you know, put together, I lose, you know, if it, you know, if it means that I can just get, you know, get revenge on this kid. But then like shortly after, like literally a page after, he talks about how concerned he was and how he invested all this time and effort into creating all these followers. And, you know, so I was a little confused about his goals because or I didn't know if maybe it was an act, maybe, or I don't know what it was. But like,
I think this particular story was kind of like the writer and artist's way of kind of like fleshing out what it was that they actually wanted to achieve, and what they wanted like the character interactions to be like, and sort of how they wanted, I don't know, I feel like this particular volume, and as you said, it's broken up into like 4 little issues. I feel like the issues were kind of like, because they're serialized in Japan, they're published monthly in those little issues, and then they're collected into a book.
I was wondering how that works.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you if they did like single issues, like a comic book or not.
I think that they published them. I could be wrong. Sarah might need to correct me. She might know. But I think that they publish them in like kind of like a zine or like a newspaper or like that kind of thing. And it might be like a few of them that are published and serialized that way every week or month or whatever. And that's why manga series go on for so long, because obviously they're like serialized for like years and they submit it month to month, much like American comics. So yeah.
Right.
And I feel like, this was kind of like much with American comics. Sometimes like the first couple issues, like you would read a first trade and they're kind of like hashing out the characters in the world and that sort of thing in the first sort of like couple of issues. And then by the second trade, you would, you know, like really get into what the plot might be. Not with all writers, obviously, but, you know, like that thing. Was published each week, month in a collective magazine that had like 10 different manga chapters from different series, if that makes sense. Yeah, that's what I thought. So I don't know why it's that way. It's just like, I guess, like a cultural norm. That's how people like to consume their, you know, like media. So that's pretty cute that they have like a collective, though. I think that's really cool.
Totally.
Yeah.
I wanted to highlight too that I liked seeing the I mean, I feel like it was the beginning, at least this first like story arc of this guy who's like the head of the church or whatever. I felt like it was a little predictable in certain ways. Like I like how the girl Rose was, you know, this one particular follower who had been tricked and duped and really was like this believer. And I was like thinking like, oh, like you just you just have to get her to hear the truth, you know, and so how they hide her inside the body of Alfonso or whatever. I thought that was, you know, I saw that coming. And then later to like have it be on blast, where he like shares with the whole town of his true self, you know, like I feel like I saw that coming, but I do like that story. I did enjoy that story. Also, anytime that Rose's name was mentioned, for whatever reason, I literally kept picturing Leonardo DiCaprio saying Rose from Titanic like every time. I'm like, you're so stupid, Rose. Yeah.
Iconic. That's how iconic it is, you know, and that's totally fair and valid. I feel like the point of that character was kind of like for Ed and Alphonse to see what they want in somebody else. So it was like that kind of like external moment where they're like, oh shit, like we're not the only people that have lost loved ones. And it kind of goes, I think, like as I said, like I think that's why I'm kind of like everyone should get this, because you finish that story and you're like, and then you get to the next one and he kind of like Ed shows a little bit more of his personality, and you're kind of like, okay, like I like this little kid, like what's he gonna do next? And you get to the third one and you're like, okay, all right. What's the plot? What's the mystery? Where are we going? I want to know now. So
right. Well, I do like some of the fight scenes that we got to see, like his ability, because that was one thing I really wanted to see was like, what can these alchemists truly do? So like make these like weapons disappear or show up, or, you know, I thought that was cool for the times that they saw, and I assume there's, you know, a lot more of that in future volumes. So I was looking forward to more of that and more of the action in that sense. you know, and we got some of it through some of these things. I know one of the other stories that we mentioned was or was that say
Oh yeah. Sarah, can you type out again what the like shojin, shonen, all those means? Sarah explained it to me what different types of manga are the other day and how they're kind of like demographically targeted. Because you can hear like there's like shonen manga and there's like other names for them.
wow.
And I never knew what it meant until I asked Sarah the other day.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's why it feels similar to Dragon Ball Z, because it is targeted to the age range. So from what I could understand, there's different types of manga which are kind of broken up into genres like novels. So there's kind of like a young adult version, and yeah, she's going to type it out for us now. Helpful. Yeah, I also, going back to what you said about you kind of saw it coming, it does play into a lot of tropes that are used across like novels, manga, comics, like for sure. And that's kind of a thing that is nice about manga actually, is that they do use a lot of tropes. And so they can be really, really comforting to read because you're like, oh, like I can kind of see like what trope they're using. I can kind of see where this is going. And I think that might be a big thing about reading manga, is that it's not always like a big plot driver, but it's about like comfort and about like feeling familiar with the characters and about like having a laugh with them, and like that kind of thing I think is a big thing when you're reading like a really long serialized story like that, because it's kind of like you can rely on the story to be long and to always kind of be there, and to kind of be comfortable. Like it's not like shocking or crazy because you're like, oh yeah, they're using this trope, like cool. So that's kind of a nice thing about manga, I think, in comparison to sometimes American comics, because American comics can be so innovative. Like you never know what's going to happen sometimes with like X-Men and stuff like that. You're like, where are we going? What the hell is happening? Like, oh my God. Yeah. Or even with like, you know, like all the fantastic indie titles that we read, you know, like with Monstrous or like with Crossover or like any of those like newer titles that you're reading, it's just like, where the hell is this going? Like you don't know. Whereas with manga, I feel like you can kind of predict, because it's like this, what Sarah's saying here, they've kind of put in little categories, and then, you know, there's like tropes and stuff for the categories. So shonen is that's so helpful to know, because then you can like be like, oh yeah, like this might have these tropes because it's targeted at boys like 12 to 16 or whatever. So more like the Fullmetal Alchemist or Tokyo Ghoul, Attack on Titan. I really want to read Attack on Titan now as well.
Oh, I've heard good things about it. I was just talking to Sparks actually a little bit about he mentioned Attack on Titan. But yeah, cool. Yeah, no, that makes sense. It definitely, I could see that. This particular one is targeted for that 12 to 16 range, because again, it did remind, it like kind of brought me back to just the kind of a humor and storytelling and what that general story was about. It all felt very similar to my days of watching Dragon Ball Z and everything else, which I loved. I mean, I really enjoyed those shows. But I don't know if I would enjoy them as much now, obviously, just as I'm older. But there it is.
I rewatched all of Dragon Ball Z. It doesn't seem like that long ago, but it was like 6 years ago, maybe 7, because it was when my daughter was a little baby. And so I was nursing her, and we couldn't really do anything or go anywhere because she was so small. And so we would just put on Dragon Ball Z, and we rewatched all of it, I think it's like 500 or 600 episodes or something like that. And it was just really comforting. It was really fun. So yeah, like, I don't know. I feel like that kind of really solidified my love for that sort of like shonen type of manga and anime, because it's kind of like, now it's stuck in my head that I associate it with that like time when I was with my daughter when she was a little baby as well.
Totally.
So I think I could see that. With what I was saying about it's kind of like comforting thing. But it's a lot. Like I can see why you're kind of like, oh, because it's like a whole new thing to get into, especially when the art is not colorful and as like gripping as American comics that we love. So
yeah. Just not used to it, I guess, you know.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. What other thoughts did you have on characters? Did we meet Colonel Mustang in the first volume?
Yeah, there was a colonel that was like I was gonna say towards the end it was like where they made the fake gold, or they made gold, they gave it to him so that they could buy back that what was it, a
Oh yeah, buy
farm?
back the town, buy back the
Town,
mine.
yeah,
Yeah.
for that family, but he owns the town now, and then all the gold like went away. So the colonel was like, hey, he's like freaking out about where it all went or whatever. Yeah,
Colonel Mustang.
yeah. I think that
Uh,
was was that that was like the third chapter. I think I'm
yeah.
mixing it because then there was also the train, the whole train action scene with the
Yeah.
train. Or I guess maybe that might have been the same thing, right?
Yeah, I think so because they kind of go from like the church town and then they like get on the train and then they go to the other town with the mine.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
then you kind of get more of a feel for Ed's character by the end of that, like when he's like made the fake gold and stuff like that.
Yeah, so that was cool to see that stuff. And also I like that I do like how recognized he was. And we did see this in the first volume or the first chapter too, but like I like how recognized he was like on the train where they're like, "Oh, you didn't say there was a Fullmetal Alchemist on board, a state alchemist on board or whatever." Like,
Yeah.
it was clearly like he's a big deal. And then
Yeah.
and throughout the whole volume, it's like, okay, he's this big deal. This so many people have heard of him, and then when they see him, they're like, "Oh, you're this little brat." They kept calling him a brat, like, "Oh, you're just this little brat,
Yeah.
of a kid." And he's like, and that's
That
where he would freak
Alphonse
out.
was the Full Metal Alchemist. I always thought that running gag was so funny. They'll be like, "Oh, the Full Metal Alchemist," and then he'll be like, "No, it's my brother." And they're
Yeah,
like, "What?"
right. Yeah, no, I like that. Yeah, I feel like we did get some of those glimpses of like their relationship and stuff, and I think I just I think, as you said, I think if I just continue to read a little bit more, it would be helpful
Yeah.
to continue picking stuff up. Obviously, you can only fit so much in the first couple of chapters, but
Yeah.
and the fact that like you said too, like they throw you right in the middle, so you're kind of trying to get your bearings with where you
Yeah.
are, what's going on, and why these essentially little missions that they're on.
Yeah, totally.
One thing I wanted to ask you was, we did at one point, and sorry if I'm like I know I'm jumping around here, but
Right.
we
I'm
did
that
get to
jealous,
meet.
so it's fine.
Okay, we got to meet the two characters, Lust and what was it Gluten?
Envy,
Yeah,
Gluttony. Lust
yeah,
and Gluttony are the ones you meet to start with. Yeah. So
yeah.
the lady with the boobs and then the round man.
Yeah. So like I only got a glimpse of them. We didn't, that one bit of a chapter they weren't even like the main focus, but like I assume that they are something bigger to come along down the road.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
they are kind of part of the like underlying overarching plot of the
Okay.
whole series. And
Okay.
kind of like each new thing that's kind of discovered as the story goes along and as Ed and Alphonse go on their adventure. You see a little bit more of these characters, and there are other characters that have there's like Wrath, there's Envy, there's Pride. I think like they
I
all
like the
have
name.
like Seven Sins types names.
Yeah.
I won't tell you like too much about them because it's kind of
Okay.
like
Yeah.
or whatever. But yeah,
Okay.
you
Yeah. Don't tell me.
more of them and like what they can do and what they're about and like like that kind of thing. They kind of remind me of Team Rocket a little bit.
I was just thinking of that.
Like, they're way more scary, like horrifically scary at some points. Like in the one volume that I just read, this one maybe, there's some truly scary panels, like
Oh wow.
gross, like scary panels, like really like leaning into the like action horror adventure rather than like cute funny Dragon Ball adventure, which is another thing that I like about reading it. As it goes on, it does get a bit more developed and dark and gritty and like high stakes and stuff like that. So yeah. But they're really interesting, like really interesting characters.
So did the I was talking to Jeremy a little before Sparks Comics, and I was asking him, and I'll ask you this: was the you mentioned that you were watching the TV show along with, but I think he said something about like not all of them tie together with what what we're reading chapter to chapter.
Yes.
He said some of it was like very different, but then there's like another series of Full Metal Alchemist. It's like
so there's an early 2000s series called Fullmetal Alchemist, and it's short, and it finishes really unsatisfactorily, apparently. So when I was in the bookshop that I buy these from, the guy was like, "Oh, are you gonna read it? Like, are you gonna watch it? Like, what are you gonna do?" And so I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna like watch it, like read it and then watch it." And he's like, "Okay, like watch Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, which
Yeah,
is
that's it.
a
He mentioned
longer
Brotherhood.
series, and then it's definitely like more of a faithful adaptation. And what it kind of does that I really like, and you might enjoy it way more in anime format, is it kind of like it draws out a little bit what's happening so that you get a better look into like kind of each panel as it's happening. So I think adapted into a manga, it's almost more effective, or like more, it's better as better as an anime because of the way that they can tell the story more visually and, like in color and that sort of thing.
Right.
But it's very faithful. Like Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is very faithful. There's not a lot that they change, but like they draw it out a bit more and give you more explanation and more insight and more time with the characters
Gotcha.
to make it easier to understand, I think. So that's really cool. Like I would recommend watching Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Like I love it.
Yeah.
The intro song for like the first season,
Yeah.
I listened to it like on repeat for like a whole week. I was just like replay.
I love it.
I'm pretty sure I sent Sarah like a video of me being like,
yeah, just dancing, rocking out.
my new fave song. So,
That's great. I see Sparks in the chat saying, "Yeah, I learned that after watching the first one."
Yeah,
or after watching the other one. Yeah,
I did. I think because I do not work, but I like do those posts for Oasis Sense. And a lot of the other reps are really, really into manga and anime. Like Sarah is a rep as well. And so I asked in the group chat there, I was like, is this the best one to watch? Should I be watching this? Is there a lot of filler? Like I was asking all these questions and they're all like, nah, just watch it. Just watch it. Okay, thanks, guys. Like it's faithful enough, like to the point where I don't actually have volumes 4, 5, and 6. It's out of print in New Zealand at the moment. I can't get it. So I read this, watch the corresponding episode, and then keep watching, and then read the volume after. And I didn't feel like I'd missed anything. There wasn't anything that I didn't understand. Like where I stopped the anime was like a natural, like jumping back on point to the manga. Like it lined up really, really well. It wasn't hard to
that's pretty cool. That's cool that you can have that option and not miss a beat,
Yeah. I asked my friend Cam, I think he's Cam's Collectibles on Instagram as well. I was like, should I do it this way? And he was like, yeah, like it's good enough. Like you can definitely do it. Like just if you're that in love with it, just go hard. I was like, okay, thanks for validating my choices. Yeah, I thought that was really, really cool. And I was really stoked because I was like, I don't want to have to wait for ages to get this volume when it comes back in print. Like, I just want to continue with the story. So yeah, honestly, even if you didn't want to read any more of it, but you were still like wanting to know what happens, you could just watch the anime on like Crunchyroll or like Anime Lab or like whatever you have, and it would be probably better if you enjoy it better because you don't have to worry about like, looking at the panels the right way and all that sort of thing, and it's in color, so like that's neat.
Yeah, you get a little bit more. That's what I was trying to like. I know that, or that was my expectations going into it as I was opening. I'm like, oh, that's right, it's black and white. I was like, I know that the cartoon, the anime versions, I would probably end up liking more, or at least I know I used to. So, I mean, so I mean, the way you like are talking about it, and you definitely have like shed some light on some things. Definitely makes it intriguing for me to want to see what happens, at least to go through these. The next 2 volumes. So I think I may do that. Because what you've explained and what you've kind of, talked about and everything has gotten me a little more intrigued. And I must say, like it was still good. Like I didn't not like it, I still enjoyed it. Like I got through it. It wasn't like I was, looking at my watch, counting down the time until I'm done reading this or something. Yeah. It was nothing like that. Like I was still like entertained. So, if you're saying like we learn more about the relationship between the boys and, obviously more characters coming into play, then I think maybe that it's something I might consider to keep going at. Maybe. So I don't know. Like I feel like I read, and I'm a slow reader, but I feel like I read the volumes very quickly, and which is weird for me saying that, even though I was also saying that I had a hard time figuring it out at first. But I do feel like after that first chapter, it was a smoother read, and I think altogether it was like an hour and 15 minutes that it took me to actually read this volume.
That's really good,
right? And I feel like it maybe even less than that now that I'm like a little bit more accustomed to how to actually go about it. There certainly are some things still where I question, like, wait, who said that, or who's talking right now? I was a little confused with like the scroll. Sometimes they have like scrolls as the design when people are stuff written in text, and then there was sometimes where it's like the bubble quotes. And I understand like scrolls can sometimes mean it's and sometimes it was bubble quotes with no arrow pointing to who because it was someone off screen or off.
Or it was like someone was thinking it, not saying it out loud, and it's like, which one is it?
So I had right. So like there were moments of that where it was their thoughts, and then there was also moments of like it was a character that just wasn't on screen. So I had to kind of like guess as I went, but I didn't put too much thought into it. I just kind of went with the flow, and I feel like it worked out pretty fine. So it wasn't like I was like lost completely in any particular spot, but yeah, like I do like the, there's these little missions. So they have to like, they run into something new each time. And I remember just reading that one chapter where they come across the townsfolk and they're like, he's like, oh, how much for, a bed and 2 meals or whatever. And they're like, yeah, it's $2,000 or whatever. And they like fall to the ground. Like how much, like, it's so much money, like, so I think, just getting used to that humor again and stuff like, it does make you chuckle. But I also would be interested as Sarah was putting out all these like these older level of manga, I would also just be interested in maybe checking out something that was more focused on adult or for adults as well.
Yeah, totally.
And obviously I'm sure there are tons of just great reads overall. And I always just try to keep that in mind that in general this whole platform has a huge following, and so if people are loving it out there somewhere, some of this stuff must be some stuff that I will enjoy to some degree. So I don't want to necessarily just say like I don't know if manga is not for me or whatever, but I don't know. I think this was good for. I appreciate that you introduced me to this and this show giving me the excuse to say, okay, like let's dive into this and even just to have this conversation. So it's, I definitely have learned a lot, even just within this, this hour that we've been talking or whatever. So, as you say, there's more good things to come. Than maybe it's something I will consider dabbling in, whether it's the reading or watching the video version of it, the anime. But that's another cool aspect of it though, too, is the fact that there is anime versus the, like we can't pick up Saga and say, well, I want to read the first 2 chapters of Saga and then I want to watch the second 2 chapters of Saga. Like it is just not, you don't have that option. So I do find that intriguing that you have the option to, go back and watch some anime.
Yeah, totally. I think that's one thing that they do really, really well, just with, I guess, the way that it's consumed culturally in, I guess, Japan and then like other countries is it's just the norm to like watch or read manga and then, like it gets adapted. It's just like it's this whole big thing. It's not like that in like America and Australia and New Zealand and stuff like that, where it's just like, let's make it into an animated show. Like we just don't really do that. Although looking at like Invincible and then the Invincible animated show, for example, like that's really cool. I wish that would happen more often. But
and maybe it will, now that they've kind of put that on the map, maybe we start to see some newer things with the way these writers, come up with ideas on how to tell a story and maybe do a video version of that. I was just talking before about, what was it? And I know this is completely different, but just going about talking about like creators trying to come up with new ideas. And I know you and I talked about this a little bit offline, but we live one of the things I just loved about this was the fact that they had a soundtrack to it. And I'm like, oh, I would love if more books, more comics had soundtracks that you could actually listen to, or that you were supposed to listen to during specific panels or during specific pages. Because I did that with this and I took my time and like went back through and I was just like, oh, it's so cool. I love the idea of this. Like, more people need to do that. But anyways, not to talk about comics, but just like, what you're saying, like maybe as you brought up Invincible, maybe more creators will start to come on board with coming up with ideas like this that kind of tie into video or like with what anime is doing. I think it's really cool.
I just think it's something that's done really well in that genre, is that you can read something and go and watch it and like you could have that super immersive experience. It's super like escapist or whatever, super comforting. That's something that I think is just so cool about manga and anime in general, is that it's created in such a way that you really are sort of supposed to like fall like right into it, and like really escape into it. And
Yeah.
maybe that's like a whole nother, you know, like deconstruct, you know, like work-life balance and like all that sort of stuff, and like cultural norms and stuff in the country of origin, you know, like in Japan or whatever. But
Yeah.
regardless, like I think that's why it garners such a cult following and people love like manga and anime so much, is because like it's immersive. Like you can watch it, you can read it, like it's long, like, you know, all those sorts of things. I just flicked over to the second volume in my version, and I realized that it's like the chapter after where you finished off is like a really hard hitting chapter, like it's super emotional. If you do get a chance to like pick it up in like another couple of weeks, or if you decide to watch the anime like with your girlfriend or anything like that, like that chapter after where you've read up to is quite like,
oh, okay,
you like really it's hard hitting. It's really good.
Cool. I'll keep it in mind. Yeah, maybe I'll I mean, I bought this one digitally, but I know my LCS has like all of the, pretty sure they have like, I swear I've seen all the volumes of Fullmetal Alchemist. Amongst other, you know, other things like that too. There is one guy that works at my LCS who is a diehard manga fan, and he has like, like I've heard him talk a little bit about some stuff, and with like Dragon Ball and stuff like that. But anyways, I know they have a whole collection of things there. So maybe if I do continue to dabble, maybe I buy a physical copy of it. I've been buying, as I just showed a trade, I've been actually buying like physical trades more recently, which is just different for me. But I will say it is a great experience, and there is something about holding that book in my hands when I read it. It's just something just a little different than, you know, reading on an iPad or whatever. So but anyways, so no, good stuff. I think this was a great choice, V. And it, like,
I'm glad you read it, even if you weren't like 100% sold on it. I'm still glad you read it and we got to talk about it, because that's kind of my favorite part of doing this, is like, even if we don't like it, we can still just like bounce back and forth.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why I like that we started this. It was just like, it gave us a, you know, it gave me excuses to read things that I either wanted to for the longest time and just kept putting off, or something like this, which is brand new, which I don't think I ever would have given a shot otherwise, you know? So, it's cool, you know, that we're doing this and that we can continue to explore. So, you know, and maybe down the road, if I continue on with some more of this particular manga and I get a little bit more into manga, then maybe we can even, you know, dabble into another story arc or something, or another, you know, series altogether. Maybe I'll say maybe for now. But I know we're jumping around from like indies and DCs and Marvels and stuff like that. So,
do you have any thoughts as to what you want to read for our next stream? Had you thought about that at all? Because are we going to continue to do fortnightly, or do you want to do monthly? Because I know scheduling and stuff is like a lot, but
things are starting to get a little tighter, so I am not sure yet. It might be better to do monthly. I know I know we were doing 2 weeks, and then we jumped an extra week last week.
So let me celebrate your birthday.
Yes. That was good. It was good times.
Cool seeing all of the posts for your birthday. It was just so like,
oh my gosh.
Love it.
Yeah, the community's awesome. It's just been so incredible to meet like so many friends, like truly consider everybody friends, and know that it's not just random people, but so many nice things. It's you know, it's touching. It's special, you know, just a special community.
I was showing your story to my husband. I was like, look at all these nice birthday messages, babe. Like, look how cool the comic people are. Like, I love that they do this. And he's like, that's really cool. I was like,
yeah, some nice people out there, really nice people. So so I guess, I don't know, we'll have to touch base offline and see about when we can plan our next one, or, you know, even if it's like every 3 weeks or something like that, you know, maybe just something more of that effect. The tough thing is, and I know I've mentioned this to you before, as something to be aware, as you know, we're both aware of, is the fact that, you know, that life is starting to, or the world is starting to open up more, and you know, we're able to actually do some things and whatnot. So, you know, we've already made, my girlfriend and I have made a bunch of different plans already. By the way, I don't know if I told you, but we officially have booked tickets to go to Vegas in October, and that's where Sheena is. So so definitely we're excited to be able to meet Sheena and hang out with her.
That's so exciting.
So it's really just more about trying to find the balance of like, when can I stream, when can I do my show, like, like next week we're going away too, so like I'm not doing my Origins show next week, which is different because I've been doing Origin shows like pretty consistently. So
we could move to like pre-recorded and just do a premiere type thing as well. Like there's options.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah, that's true. Either way, though, obviously, I definitely want to keep going. So, we'll. I mean, so I was gonna say I have a bunch of trades here. There are some that I was planning to get into, and I thought maybe it'd be cool if you wanted to jump in with me on one of them. They're all indie stuff, though. So, I mean, I would just say let's choose one, and then obviously we can go back to DC or Marvel or whatever direction we want to go from there. But do you want to know them now, or do you want to talk about them later?
Show me now.
We have a few minutes, so yeah.
A few minutes.
So there's 1, 2. I have technically 5 that we could choose from, at least from the ones I bought. So I bought these on my birthday. These were like when I went shopping at my LCS, and I was just like, you know what? Let me just. These are all some stories that have been out now for a while, some fairly recent, but I'm like, this is an interesting way. Let me try to catch up. And it's all because I bought We Live. I accidentally bought We Live and just love the experience. So I was like, okay, let me give other ones a shot. So, all right, first one it's Rick Remender, and it is Black Science. I don't know if you've read this before.
I have not.
Okay, so that might be an option. It's Matteo Scalera is the artist, and I love Matteo Scalera's work right now that he's doing on Magic the Gathering. Hey, what's going on, George? Good to see you. Yeah, so that's one of them. The artwork's beautiful in here. It is very futuristic. Trying to see if just to show some panels real quick.
That's so cool.
So yeah, I don't really fully know what's going on with everything, but it is very out there.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's like one thing, or I mean, you've heard of this, but you never read it. You said, right?
Yeah, I haven't read it.
Okay. It says something like Grant McKay, leader of the Anarchistic League of Scientists, has finally done the impossible. He has deciphered black science and punched through the barriers of reality with his creation, the Pillar. And then it says, but something went wrong, and now Grant and his team are lost, barreling through the boundless expanses of the Eververse, living ghost shipwrecked on the infinite ocean of alien worlds. Then it just says, the only way is forward. The only question is, how far are they willing to go to get home again?
Yeah.
So that's the little rundown on that. So that's an option. This book here, Inkblot, is another one that I picked up recently. I don't know. Have you read?
I've got the single issues, but I didn't get issue 3. So I read 1 and 2 and then never continued because for whatever reason, issue 3 didn't come into my LCS. So that could be an option.
Yeah, that totally could be an option. Emma Kubert and Rusty Glad are doing it. So so you read the first 2 issues, so you kind of have an idea a little bit. I understand it's about this cat that goes around and potentially destroying the universe or whatever. So yeah, so I thought it was interesting. I've just heard so many great things, or I've heard good things about it, so it was intriguing to me. So I grabbed that.
Yeah, Jen from Life of a Geeky Mind really likes it from memory.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think she really likes it. So
okay, I see Sparks in the chat saying Inkblot too. Looks like he's read it as well. And Raging saying so good. Another one, of course, I had to grab something from Tom Taylor, so I grabbed 7 Secrets. I have not read this yet. I've always been hearing great things, and obviously it's Tom Taylor, so I was like, yeah, let's go all in with this. Boom Studios, it's pretty thick too. I assume there's 6 issues.
Yeah.
I don't know much about it, so I just know it's good from what I've heard. So definitely,
I love it. So
that could be an option. Have you read all this? You've read all the issues? Okay, so you're caught up on that.
It was one of those things where I didn't know that it was coming out, but my LCS saw Tom Taylor and he was like, I've ordered this for you. And I was like,
oh, and he just got it for you. Yeah.
Just got it. Great. And then I was like, do you have any more of this? I need some more. Yeah.
I love it.
To the point where I was like, Sarah, you're reading 7 Secrets. Someone else, I was like, you're reading 7 Secrets now. Put it on everybody.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I can't wait to get into that.
Yeah. It's so fun.
So these last 2 are Jeff Lemire books, and I've just been in love with Jeff Lemire. I mean, ever since reading Gideon Falls and Descender, I've just loved Jeff Lemire. So I never heard of this one. This is called Plutana.
Ooh.
Are you familiar with this one?
I'm not, but I like the cover, and it's Jeff Lemire, so
Yeah, so Jeff Lemire, Emmy Lennox is doing the art along with Jordi Belair, and it says 5 suburban kids make a shocking discovery while exploring the woods one day after school. They discover the body of the world's greatest superhero, Plutana, lying dead among the mud and grass. It says this discovery sends them on a journey that will threaten to tear apart their friendship and their lives, and that's kind of it for that.
that sounds up my alley.
Right. So I've been really into these like kids adventure type stories, like again, like We Live or like Middle West, you know, that kind of style. So yeah, and this is Jeff Lemire, which I just love his character building that he does in anything that he does. So definitely yeah. So this is another possibility. And then the last one is it's a big one, but I mean, I would say we would just read the first, six issues or whatever. But I did pick this up, the whole compendium of Sweet Tooth. Yes. So I literally, and again, this was on my birthday. I was shopping at the LCS and I bought all those other books behind that I just showed. And then I was like going to check out and I started talking to my LCS owner about like some of the books I picked up. And then I was like, yeah, and Sweet Tooth. He's like, oh yeah, the compendium. And he points and it was like right in front of me. And I'm like, oh, I was like, why'd you have to tell me you have this? And so of course I had to get rung up again and buy this. So, yeah, add to cart. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's another option too. If the only thing is I would like to finish reading finish watching the season first and then start the first 6 issues or whatever, if you wanted to do that for the show. So that's another option. And obviously, we can do all these at some point, down the road. We can push them down as we mix in DC and Marvel. And
Sweet Tooth. Let's do it. Let's just
say
Sweet Tooth. Oh, Atlas agrees. See, Atlas has come to say yes, do Sweet Tooth.
Okay, perfect. Then let's do it.
Read that first volume and finish the series and then sort of like discuss both.
Yeah. That would be perfect. Yeah. So I definitely have to. So my girlfriend and I are gonna, we're gonna read some of it or watch some of it this weekend. We have 4 more episodes. So if we can finish it up either this weekend or next weekend, then from there is when I plan to jump into this. So we'll be able to do it from there. Karen said the film, they filmed that show in New Zealand. Oh yeah. Okay. So I heard that. I heard about that. That's really cool. What did Sparks say before? He said Plutana sounds interesting. Oh, I randomly got issue 1, but I haven't checked it out. So there you go, Sparks. Hey, we did talk about, and maybe down the, when we do, if we end up doing Plutana down the road, I know we talked about potentially having like guests on from time to time too. So, shout out to you, Sparks. Maybe you can be a guest at some point, and anybody else, obviously, who would like to read any of these with us. Yeah.
We should ask Abby if she wants to come and talk Sweet Tooth because
that'd be great.
Like the Sweet Tooth Oracle. So I feel like
I would love that.
Really fun because Abby's got such good energy. She's such
I need to stream with her. We have not planned anything yet. We've talked a little bit about it, but yeah, definitely want to collab. So that would be cool. That would be really cool. Let's reach out to her after this one.
Yeah, okay. I'll message her. I'll make a little Instagram group chat.
Yeah, so yeah.
When my husband and I were watching the first couple episodes of Sweet Tooth, there's a scene that's in the zoo, and it's at the Auckland Zoo, which is like super iconic. Like I used to go there all the time when I was a little kid, and so I was like, "That's the zoo."
Yeah. Take it down that.
There's some super picturesque, like like in the forest and like stuff like that is you can kind of tell where it is, which is it's really cool. It's really
nice. Is cool.
Yeah,
that's very cool.
I love telling people that. I'm like, that was filmed in New Zealand. Did you know? So
love it.
Great. Yeah,
cool. So then we'll figure out the next plan for when we want to do the next one. Maybe since we do have to watch and then read, maybe it is like a 3-week separation or something like that. Yeah. But we can work out a date, and then especially if we're gonna have Abby, we'll have to make sure that aligns with her.
If she can put it in her schedule, that will be so fun. I'd love to do a stream with her and talk about Sweet Tooth and just Jeff Lemire in general. She will probably just spout off awesome information.
That's right. So she is one that's really got me to explore more Lemire. And that was earlier. Yeah. That was like the end of December, like the end of last year is when I really started to give more a shot. And some of it was because of her. I mean, she talked very highly about a lot of things. So although one she didn't talk highly about, or just because she just couldn't get into it, and she said she would revisit it at some point. But I told her she has to go back and read Descender, So she said that she's going to. This was like months ago, but she said she would consider it because she loves Lemire so much she just couldn't get into the space stuff. But I think she should revisit that. Abby, if you're watching this replay at some point, I hope that you have given Descender another shot. I'm reading Ascender now, and it is amazing. It is just all been so good. So,
she said she loves Ascender so far. So,
wait, who?
Abby said she really likes Ascender.
Wait,
she's not Descender. So,
did she read this? Oh, I wonder because you have you have to read Descender first. You have to.
Apparently you don't.
Well, you do. You do, and you do. Like you don't. You don't. Okay, you don't.
It's one of those like companion things where like you would enjoy it.
But there's some things that are just like so key in Descender that like would hit home for people in Ascender. And so she's not getting the hitting home part, or the impact of certain things, So that's interesting that she's reading.
But that might make her enjoy a Descender if she goes back to reread it. So
maybe.
So I mean, you might win in the end.
Perhaps I might. All right. Well, we'll get her on either way, and we'll talk some Jeff Lemire. So
hopefully. Cross our fingers. Hopefully it works for a schedule. So, right. Well, I know that you have got places to be, and clearly somebody wants all my attention. So we probably better wrap it up now. Justin's first ever manga read. If you do watch this on the replay, don't forget to thumbs up and like and subscribe and comment and all that sort of stuff. And if you've watched to the end of this replay, leave the dog emoji in the comments because Atlas is here. So leave dog emoji in the comments. That would be really great. And subscribe to Justin because we'll do our next stream on Justin's channel. And Justin has amazing content, like consistently, continuously, all the time. So I've always got more stuff of Justin's to like listen to and watch, which I love. Like it's awesome. So yeah, that's that for today.
Cool.
Fullmetal Alchemist. So I hope this was fun.
Yes, and totally fun. Cool. All right, until next time.
Thank you for joining us. Bye.
Thanks, y'all.